Good day. Before starting my video presentation, here are some screenshots of the progress of our codes together with the equipment that we have already bought.
Hello, I am Joervie P Adante from B12 and this is a video presentation of my Uno Ardusim project. I will talk about the sequence I want to demonstrate with 3 different inputs and outputs. And also, I will talk about the code and its simulation results.
This is the truth table for the 3 inputs and 3 outputs that I want to display. I started with a sequence counter of 0 until 7 for the sake of my code. There are still a total of 8 maximum combinations for the 3 different inputs. And for the outputs, I am the one to assign the values of the red LED, the green LED, and the servo motor.
This slide shows my 3 different inputs and 3 different outputs in my Uno Ardusim software. For my 3 different inputs, I use 3 pull-up or pull-down resistors assigned to pin 02, 03, and 04 based on my code. And then for my 3 different outputs, I use 2 LEDs, 1 red and 1 green assigned to 07 and 08 pins respectively. And then my last output is my servo motor assigned to pin 10. Then, talking about the code, it starts with #include for my servo motor. And then initializing or naming my variables sequence servo pin assigned to pin 10. And then servo 1. Next, my void setup. The first part is the servo 1 attach, which attaches my servo motor to my servo pin. Next are my for loops, which assigns the pin to my input and output. My first for loop assigns my pins 1 to 4 as my input, and then my second for loop assigns pins 7 to 9 as my output. Then talking about my void loop, I started it with setting my sequence counter to 0 and then following it with 3 if functions, which will start simultaneously. My first if function is a digital read 4, which reads my 4th pin. If it is on, it will add 1 to my sequence counter. And then my second if function will read my input pin 3. If it is on, it will add 2 to my sequence counter. And then lastly, my input pin 2, if it is on, it will add 4 to my sequence counter. If I turn on my input pins 2 and 3, it will have a total sequence counter of 6. And looking at my chart again, sequence 6 shows that turning on my input 2 and 3 pins corresponds to pressing inputs 1 and 2, and then input 3 leaving it off, which is 1, 1, 0. And then the corresponding output of this sequence is 0, 0, 1, which means that my red LED and then my green LED are turned off and my servo motor will only work. Then, after finalizing the total number of sequence counters, my program will run my first if function first. If it does not satisfy, it will run the next one, and then if not, the next one again. For my first if function, if the total sequence counted is 0, it will output 0, 0, 0. In my code, I used a digital write function, a digital write 7, and then low. And then for the next one, 8 low, and then 9 low, which means that I assigned my pins 7, 8, and 9 as low. And then it is followed by an else if function, which means that if the first function doesn't satisfy, it will work or it will run the second function. If my total counted sequence is 1, it will output high, high, low. Inputs 7, 8, and 9 respectively. And then it follows the next sequence. If it does not satisfy, it will run this sequence. If the total sequence number is 2, it will output high, low, high for output pins 7, 8, and 9. This pattern continues the same until my last if statement, which has different output equivalents depending on the sequence counter total, related to my truth table. And for the last part of my code, it makes my servo motor work, which is assigned to pin 10. If my pin 9 is read as high, my servo motor will work. Alternatively, going to 180 degrees and then 0 with a delay of 0.5 seconds.
Okay, so this is my code. Compile and then accept, and then assigning my pull up and pull down resistors to pins 02, 03, and 04 as my inputs 1, 2, and 3 respectively. And for my 3 outputs, which is assigned to pin 7 for the red LED, pin 8 to the green LED, and pin 10 to my servo motor. And then running the program, pressing F9, starting at my sequence 0 without my inputs being pressed, none of my outputs will work. For having a sequence 1, which is only pressing input 3 or the pin 4, the red LED and the green LED will work, related to the truth table shown. And then having a sequence number or a sequence counter of 2, it will be pressing only the input 2. As you can see, the sequence counter is 2. The red LED and the servo motor will work, or it shows an output of 1, 0, and then 1. Next, the sequence number 3, only pressing the inputs 2 and 3, it shows an output of 1, 0, 0 in the truth table, which is related to this simulation. Only the red LED 1, 0 for the green LED, and the servo motor also 0. Next, for the sequence 4, only pressing input 1, it shows that the green LED and the servo motor will work. Looking at the truth table, it shows an output of 0, 1, 1. And next, for the sequence counter of 5, pressing input 1 and input 3, also related to the table, it shows that only the green LED will work. Or in the table, it shows 0, 1, 0. 0 for the red LED, 1 for the green LED, and 0 for the servo motor. Next, for sequence 6, pressing only the inputs 1 and 2, only the servo motor will work. In the truth table, it is 0, 0, 1. As you can observe, the sequence counter in this program is also 6, relating to the table. And lastly, for the last combination of pressing all of the inputs, which has a total sequence counter of 7, all of the outputs will work. The red LED turned on, green LED turned on, and the servo motor working with a delay of 5 seconds, going to 180 degrees and 0.
This is my Arduino Uno with 3 switches, and then red LED, green LED, and then my servo.